Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining in as we share some great eating healthy or eating healthier advice. I am Zinka Shirbegovic. I'm with the Howard County Library System, and we are using the Zoom webinar format, so you can put your questions in the Q&A and also in the comments. And Josefina will answer your questions after the presentation. Post-event, we will send out a survey and would love to hear from you. Also, e-captionings are available for this class. You can click the CC button on the bottom of your screen and toggle them on and off. They are generated automatically by Zoom, so they may contain some errors. And I apologize about that. And let's see, before we start, please mark your calendar. We have on May 12th, we had another great presentation with Giant, Get More Plants on your plate. On May 17th, we have Healthy Sense webinar container gardening. That's at 11 a.m. on May 17th. And on the same date at 6:30 p.m., we have gratitude meditation. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Josefina Hiron. She's registered dietitian, licensed dietitian nutritionist, certified lactation counselor, and holds a certificate in child and adolescent weight management. She received her Bachelor of Science and Dietetics from Florida International University and completed her didactic practicum in Virginia Tech. Josefina makes nutrition accessible for Giant Spanish-speaking customers through classes, consults, and store hours. She's passionate about helping others live their best healthy life by meeting them where they are and empowering them to make healthy eating a fun part of their lives. She's driven to live new experiences and is ready to try different foods, travel, run a race, or go for a hike. Welcome, Josefina, and let me stop my share screen.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me this morning, and thank you all for joining us today. And let me share my screen so that we can get started. Let's see, where is this? Okay, can everybody see this, the slide?
Yes.
Zinka? Okay, and hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you, Zinka. Like Zinka said, my name is Josefina Hiron, and I am one of 10 nutritionists at Giant. And Giant, provides programming for community partners as well as for individuals. So we also provide nutrition consultations, one-on-one consultations. So if anybody's interested, this is a service that Giant provides to the community. Today's topic is going to be drink your produce. So we're going to talk all about smoothies and juicing. So let's get started. So, I do want to kind of make it a little interactive. I know that we can all learn from each other. So I do have a couple questions throughout the presentation. And if you would just chime in the chat, that would be great. So just, before we get started, if anybody, would like to share, what are some of the benefits that you believe smoothing or juicing provides? And just give some time for people to kind of chime in the chat. Zeke, I'm actually not, I don't know why I can't see the chat right now.
You cannot see it? Oh,
no.
Maybe. Okay, I can read it out to you. It says,
okay.
It says, healthy alternative, easy to get veggies in for the day, according to the lean. And then Rashida says, natural enzymes and fresh nutrients.
Yeah, wonderful. So those are all great, great reasons. So yeah, so they're, you know, great tasting. They can be fun to make. It could also help to fight food waste. They're nutrient dense. They could be kid friendly. So if you have kids, that, you know, these are some things that kids like, and portable. So I think somebody mentioned that, you know, it's an easy way to get some produce in, get some benefits. So that's definitely one that's really important. um, so the, you know, it's quick and fast as well, so it's definitely a breakfast that I like to make if I'm on the run. Having a smoothie that, you know, has some nutrients. It's pretty new. It can be nutrient dense depending on what we put in it. And so it could be a quick and easy, fast, you know, breakfast or snack to have. So those are, you know, great reasons that you guys all talked about. So to kind of go over each one. So great tasting, you know, just finding what kind of ingredients, you know, that you enjoy. What kind of fruits do you like? What kind of vegetables? Maybe what kind of spices that you like. So making sure that you're putting some taste that's enjoyable to you. And then how does it fight food waste? Well, a lot of times, like, you know, if you have a banana that's maybe very ripe, maybe you won't eat that fresh, but it's something that you can definitely put into a smoothie because the flavor will actually be stronger, and you're not going to notice it when you mix it in with the milk or the water, the same, that consistency that it has now that it's like very overripe. So definitely that's something that can help to fight food waste. So some of your produce that might not be looking its best, and might be something that you might not eat fresh, it's something that you would be okay with having in a blender or in a juice or in a smoothie. And then we'll talk about all the benefits of how it can be nutrient dense. And then with kids, you know, involving them in the activity, doing the smoothie or the juice together, that really motivates them and helps them to get involved and to enjoy what they're eating or drinking for this case. But also you could have like fun colors, you know, things like red and yellow or orange or green. And that's something that kids really enjoy. And the best part about it is that it is portable. So another poll here, and I don't know why I can't see the chat, but what ingredients do you like to add in your juice or smoothie? Okay, I can see the chat now. Zinka, you're muted.
I'm on mute. Okay. Oh, I have blueberries, bananas, and carrots. And then it says get greens that I don't regularly eat. Ground flaxseed. I have. And then if I add a lot of greens, I find pineapple masks the taste. I have two. And then I have celery, spinach, mango, pineapple, apple, strawberry, ginger, turmeric.
Wow,
All great
awesome.
ingredients.
That all sounds delicious. So yeah, a lot of great points. You know, somebody mentioned that they might put veggies that they might not regularly eat. So that's a really good point. You know, if I have a lot of spinach or kale, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to find ways to use it. I'm like, okay, well, it's something I could just throw into my smoothie, right? I usually like to buy greens that are very versatile. So, you know, I find for me personally, like spinach and kale, I can make salads with them. I can put them in eggs. If I do a pasta or something, I can throw them in there, or like make a sauce, I can put them in there. So I like to have it like that because, you know, if not, like, since I'm in a household of one, I have to find a way to use one thing in multiple ways. Otherwise, it can waste. So I definitely love to, you know, have those that I feel that I can put in my smoothies. So that's a great example. And then somebody else mentioned things like ground flaxseed, Okay, we have some carrots, definitely a fan of carrots. And like the person that said about putting pineapple, so yeah, like there's definitely a good way to like mask. So if you find that having too much of the greens, it's a flavor that you don't enjoy, well, you could, cut back a little bit on it, or have another fruit or another flavor that is stronger that will help to mask it. So those are really, really great points.
I have somebody said also yogurt and protein powder also for the
Okay,
smoothie.
wonderful. Yeah, so those are also great for adding some protein into your smoothies.
And
So one of the things we try to start off with is leading with our leafy greens. Okay, so some of you mentioned adding that produce, so you can get some vegetables that you might not get in. So some of these leafy greens, so if you are starting off and you feel that you might not want that really strong flavor, so starting with some of these mild ones, which can be romaine, spinach, or like any of the baby greens, because they're not so strong flavors. So definitely some of those baby greens. So these are going to be those mild. And then the medium ones are things like kale, maybe those beet greens, Swiss chard. And then much more stronger that you'll notice it are going to be arugula, watercress, or dandelion. But if you like arugula, that has that taste to it, it might be something that you might find interesting in your smoothie. So what I would recommend is, just starting with a small amount and then kind of build up. Also remember that our taste buds, do adapt. So if you start with small amounts, and gradually build up, chances are that you might end up, enjoying it. That where if you start with a really strong flavor at the beginning, you might really, really notice it. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that our taste buds do adapt. So it takes some time. Okay. Does anybody use any other types of greens or any of these like medium or stronger flavored greens in their smoothies?
I have somebody says they use avocados for creaminess, and then basil. Oh, somebody, Rashida uses basil in her smoothies too. I haven't tried that.
I have to say I haven't tried basil in my smoothies either. I have tried avocado, and I definitely, that creaminess is really delicious. Dandelion, somebody's tried dandelion. Okay, or the spring mix. I gotta get a little, more adventurous with mine. Spring mix is a great one, because spring mix doesn't, I find that it does go bad faster than like maybe a spinach or kale mix. So spring mix is a great to add to your smoothies, to be able to use it all before it goes bad.
Oh, and the
Okay.
broccoli.
Broccoli.
Okay.
That's fun. Cool. So, yes, avocado is a great one. Actually, I was introduced to avocado as an adult, like in my previous job. One of my colleagues, she's from Brazil, and that was something very common and cultural for them. And so I found that to be really, really interesting. I'm from Mexico, and avocados are huge in Mexico, but we don't have that tradition of putting avocados in a smoothie. But we do have avocado ice cream. so maybe we should start with those putting in smoothies. But yeah, so avocados in a smoothie is also, the great thing about it is that avocados have that healthy fat, so they could be very filling as well. All right, let's move on here. So, adding more fiber. So the benefit, right? One of the benefits of those greens are it's going to be that fiber that it has, as well as all those vitamins and minerals. So you can add more fiber for those prebiotics. So these are going to be prebiotics, is basically that food for our gut, for our probiotics. So things, somebody had already mentioned broccoli, but things like, maybe a broccoli slaw or just broccoli, cucumber, celery, steamed vegetables. This is something I haven't personally tried, but I do have a colleague who has done steamed vegetables in carrots, beets, sweet potato, cauliflower, zucchini, or sprouts. Here, I would say, I've had the beets, I've had celery and cucumber, as well as the sweet potato. Sweet potato could also give it, a nice creaminess and a nice, great amounts of fiber, that vitamin, and provide you with some of that beta carotene. So let's see, anybody has some, want to share some of theirs?
How do you use sweet potatoes? You have to cook them first, no?
Yes, I definitely cook it first. And and then, you just put it, I like to mix it with a liquid, like a dairy, like there can be milk, soy milk, or something like that.
Oh, we have a question about smoothies. Can you see that? That they break down fiber too much and you don't get the benefit. Is that true?
That they break down fiber too much? Well, that's a good question. So, I mean, it has that fiber still in it. That's the difference between the smoothie and the juicing, is that with your juicing, you're getting rid of a lot of fiber. So it does, when it's not necessarily that it's breaking down the fiber, but it's, breaking down some of that, by like putting it into a liquid form, it's breaking down some of that. It's, what we would do in our chewing, okay, when we're chewing, we're definitely like eating the food much slower. So it does go into our system a little bit faster. So when we're thinking about, our blood sugar, right? When we are chewing our food and we're actually eating it, our body has to break it down, and it takes a little bit longer. So I think that's where the difference is, that because you were drinking it, and the blender has done that breaking down, it does go into our system much faster. So it will affect, our blood sugar, but it still has that fiber. So the effect is not as much if it didn't have that fiber at all. Okay.
So it didn't destroy the fiber, basically.
Right.
Like if the fiber was too much chewed up by the blender, so it's not. It's just
right.
That
so let me try to explain that again. So the fiber's still there. Okay. So the benefit of the fiber, fiber has a lot of benefits. One, it helps to control blood sugar. It helps to also control your blood cholesterol. Okay. And it helps to keep you full longer. So how does it helps with your blood sugar? Because fiber, it takes longer to digest. But when we're eating let's say an apple, we have to chew it, and we're having smaller bites of it, so it goes into our system in a slower process. But when we drink it, okay, we don't have to chew anymore, because the blender has done that for us, and we can eat it much faster. So it will go into our system, in a faster pace, and that can affect our blood sugar differently than if we're eating it. Okay. Yes, and that's true. That's also a very good point, is that sometimes, like, we can eat much more before realizing that we're full. So that's where being mindful of these things is important, that you still want to have the right portions, and we'll talk about how to balance it, and how much of a fruit or vegetable. And then that's why it's also good to make sure, that you are including whether a healthy fat or a healthy protein, so that you do feel that satiety, you do feel that fullness. Okay. So yeah, I hope that explained that a little better. But that was a really good question. All right, sorry. Okay. And I think some of you already covered this, but does anyone add protein to their smoothie or juice? And if yes, which ones or what do you add?
We have soy protein, Greek yogurt, and then doesn't yogurt add some protein, yeah, to your smoothies too? So we have those.
Yeah, great points. So, you know, soy protein, any of you want to look at, like, milk naturally has some protein. So you also want to look at, if you're doing like a milk alternative, some of them will have protein, but not all of them. So just kind of check that. Greek yogurt has higher amounts of protein than the regular yogurt, and then Icelandic yogurt has more protein. So the difference between like the regular, the Greek, and the Icelandic is the way that it's cultured. So that culturing process causes it to have more protein. But some people, you know, it also just kind of depends on your taste preferences. Some might prefer the plain, some might prefer the regular Greek or Icelandic. So that's just to know the difference. And so we have almond milk, yeah, pea protein. Other things you could do too, let me see if I have it on the other slide here, is things like a nut butter. You know, I'm a huge peanut butter fan. So you can actually put, you know, a scoop of peanut butter or walnuts if you have like any kinds of nuts at home, nuts or seeds, those are great options. Okay. So if you, sorry, here. There's so many things here. Okay. So somebody had said, you know, soy. So here's like tofu. Definitely, if you're trying to find more ways to add protein, you could do tofu, any like protein powder, or some kinds of nuts. And again, you know, these are some of the liquids you could do with like a milk or a milk alternative, or you can do a plain, you know, either whether it's water or like a tea. Okay, if you enjoy, if you're looking for a more of a fruity flavor, there's many herbal teas that you could try, or these, you know, sugar-free like seltzers. Okay. So yes, chia seeds also are a great source because they do have protein as well. So yeah, and we're going to be talking about chia a little later. So that's also a really good point. So I have that. I had chia seeds here. Okay, so there's just a huge variety of fruits that you can sweeten it with. You know, you could obviously use your fresh fruits, but a great option is those frozen fruits as well. Okay, when we're looking at those frozen fruits, also just check the nutrition facts label. Make sure that they're not adding any sweet, you know, any sugar to it. So you can look at the nutrition facts label, look at the ingredients, and see that it's just that fruit that's in it. And then you see here avocado is there as well. And then if you're going to use canned, the same, you want to have the fruit in its own juice, because if it's in syrup, it's going to have a lot more sugar. And you could also rinse it. Okay, so rinsing it will help to take out some of that extra sugar that it might have on top from the juice. So these are, you know, great examples: berries, banana, mango, pineapple, dates, raisins too, apples, any citrus, melon, avocado. Okay, so definitely a great variety to add some fruit. And then layering with different flavors and nutrition. So cacao, if are looking for something chocolatey, cacao has a lot of great benefits. Okay, the actual like cacao, it has protein as well. Okay, it has a little bit of protein. It has some iron as well. And then it's going to, I mean, it's definitely something, you want to have in moderation because it does have some of the fats, but it does have some other beneficial properties to it. And then vanilla, coconut, and spices. So spices and herbs are definitely a great way to add more flavor. We actually have a presentation on spices and herbs that we provide, but because they have so many benefits. But I personally love to add cinnamon to my smoothies. So cinnamon, the great benefit of cinnamon is that it does help to control your blood sugar. So there's studies that show the beneficial properties of cinnamon in controlling your blood sugar, as well as being an anti-inflammatory. Okay, so that's a great benefit there. And then, around October time, everybody's looking for those pumpkin flavors, but you can always, there's a spice that's called pumpkin pie spice. So if that's something that you enjoy, well, that could be something to add to your smoothies as well. So these are some of the more of the sweeter ones. And some of the savory like herbs, you can do things like basil. I think somebody talked about, somebody mentioned basil, I believe, but you can do like cilantro and parsley. Those are other herbs that you can have. Let me see something in the chat. Okay, so yes, Rashida said that she washes and freezes her fresh fruit so it doesn't go bad, or she does frozen. Okay, so that's a really good point that I actually have done that, because if you buy in season, that's when a lot of times the fruit is going to be at its best price. So I remember there was a time where it was like, buy one, get two free or something like that. It was a really good deal for strawberries. And I got three, these 16 ounces, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish them. So what I did, I washed them and I froze them so that I could use them later in my smoothies or my cooking. So definitely that's a really, really great tip, that if you see that you're not going to be able to finish it, before it goes bad, definitely freeze it. Okay. And then let's see, what else do we have here? So yeah, with the herbs and spices, does anybody use any herbs or spices in theirs? Is this something new? So Marilyn asked, how do you freeze strawberries? So the way I like to do it is, you definitely have to wash them. I cut them in half, or you can just do it whole, but I do like to cut off the stem or the green part. And then I put it in a sheet pan so that they can freeze individually, so that when you put them in a Ziploc bag, so I freeze them individually in a sheet pan, and then I stick them in a Ziploc bag so that when you take it out, they are individual. If not, they could clump up together if you put them all together. So that's the way I would do it. Okay. So parsley, that's wonderful. Parsley's a great one, and adding spices is new, but it's actually a really great benefit to add some antioxidants as well. Spices have antioxidants, and a lot of them have an anti-inflammatory benefits. And the cinnamon, something that I started to use a lot. I don't just use it for my smoothie, but I try to add it in as much. So I might put it in oatmeal, on my yogurt. So cinnamon is something that I've started to use a lot just because of its benefits with your blood sugar. So, okay, great question. The nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is, also it's kind of like a great spice. It adds flavor to foods. This one, the benefit of it is that it has, good variety of vitamins, minerals like potassium, thiamine, vitamin B12, but it also has 5 grams of protein. So it does have 5 grams of protein. And you would just have to see like I actually like to put this on like popcorn on my salad. I don't personally put it in my smoothie, but this is actually good more, I would say, like for with like avocado. But I know my colleague Leslie, she loves to put this on her smoothies, and mostly with like the avocado, that kind of smoothie.
So it's
But
more savory, isn't it? Nutritional yeast is more savory.
it's more savory, right? It's a more on the savory side. So pairing it with something, that's not necessarily so sweet. So yeah, it's more on the savory side. But it's something maybe if you have like things that you could mask it with, or if you're really interested in the savory part. So let me see here.
So any other spices other than cinnamon you would recommend in a smoothie? Or
so for the sweet ones, I would say, nutmeg, clove as well. That's a great one to use. Turmeric is also a really good one to use because of its anti-inflammatory properties as well. But you could also, with like ginger and turmeric, you could either do the spice or you can do the actual root. It is going to have more of a kick with ginger. So you would use much less, a very smaller amount. But you could either, if you have the roots at home, use the roots, or you could use the spice. So those are also 2 other great ones to use, would be like the ginger or the turmeric.
what about if you're vegan, does nutritional yeast provide enough vitamin B? Would you know that?
So if you're vegan, I think that's where you would have to definitely look at your overall. Just having, nutritional yeast is not going to provide your daily amount of B vitamin. I mean, it's a good source to include because it is much harder to get your B vitamin, but that's something we could have like a one-on-one session to look at the overall meal plan and see that you are getting it in all your sources. Or the best sources, but it does provide B vitamins. So that's a good point to point out, is that this is great a supplement to include in your diet, especially if you're a vegan, because it does have that and it's an easy way to add it in. And it has those proteins as well.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. So with chia and flaxseed, so this is something that I actually, really try to put in my smoothies just to give it, some more protein and just beneficial properties. So here, this is going to be flaxseed. This one is already grounded, and this one has some protein, okay, as well as some healthy fats. So that protein and healthy fats is going to allow for you to feel full, because that's one of the things, like sometimes, we can have a drink and we don't even realize that, we had a good substantial amount of calories or, of food. But if you're, trying to add things that are either has protein or healthy fat, is going to allow your body to have that satiety, so that you really have that message that we had something. Okay, so here you can have chia either here's chia with flax seeds, and these are blended. Okay, so the benefit as well, they have those healthy fats, those omega fats, as well as some protein. Okay.
chia seed doesn't need to be ground, but flaxseed should be ground, is it?
Right. Chia seed doesn't have to be ground. When I'm putting in my smoothie, I like it to be ground if I'm going to blend it, because then, like, those little seeds stay. But you can maybe prepare like the water before, and so the chia seed would just kind of like expand and can become a little like a gelatin form. And that's perfectly fine. But with the flaxseed, grounding it allows you to absorb it better. Yeah.
Okay.
So great point. And I see that somebody gave a tip about, frozen cubes with green herbs. So that's also a great, way to have your herbs, which makes it quick and easy, and also helps to preserve them. So you could use that for your cooking, and you could also use that for your smoothies. Okay. And then here is, where we're going to talk about, have that balance. So trying to, per serving, keep your fruits to 2.5 cups of fruit per serving. So that's about 1 cup of fruits per serving. Okay, this is going to help to kind of also make sure that yes, it is fresh fruit, frozen or canned, so it is going to be natural, and you're having that whole fruit, but this still it's still going to break down into carbohydrates and a sugar. So we want to make sure we're managing that and balancing it. Okay, so you can also have an eye out for those added sugars that you might have in the liquid. So if it's like a flavored soy milk or almond milk, they have like vanilla. So that's going to have more sugar in it. So looking to see, do you have any of those unsweetened beverages, so that you're not also adding more sugar. And then the yogurt, if you're doing a yogurt, since you're already going to add flavor with the fruit and maybe the spices and the vegetables and the herbs, try to choose the plain yogurt. That way you're not adding more sugar to it as well, because in the end, you could really spike up your blood sugar if you're having all of these things that have flavor. So if you're getting a plain yogurt, it's not going to have any added sugar. It's just going to have the natural sugar that comes in regular yogurt. Okay. And then the same thing with protein powders. So you can always, try to get protein from nuts and seeds. But if you're doing a powder, there, also have some that have flavors, but there also sell unflavored proteins powder. So that's another. And, a lot of times we get the question, how about honey, agave, raw sugar? But, when it breaks down, if we're looking at our overall consumption, sugar is sugar, and it's going to still rise up our blood sugar, right? So that's where we want to kind of be mindful of that. And the same thing with, with the fats. So there are beneficial and healthier fats. So, nuts and seeds, yogurt, they have some fat content in it. But it's just something to be mindful of. So if you're going to add peanut butter to it, just kind of maybe how much of that, is it 1 scoop, 2 scoops, or 2 not scoops, sorry, like tablespoons or 2 tablespoons, because in the end, it does kind of add up. So it's everything kind of about balancing it out and looking at what are your, long-term goals. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about this?
We have questions from the previous slide. That
Okay.
flax blend, is it regularly carried in the store? The one that you showed.
The blended, yes. And that's you're gonna find it more in Giant's Nature's Promise section. So that's typically where you'll find that, in the Nature's Promise section, where maybe the like oatmeal and the cereals are.
Okay. And the second question, Rashida says, I use stevia sometimes. What about adding MCT or a hemp oil? What do you think about those?
Hemp oil.
Hemp or MCT? Yeah,
The MCT is the medium chain triglycerides.
That's out
So
of coconut, yeah, I believe.
Hemp does have, you know, beneficial properties to it. You can, if you like that flavor in your a smoothie, you can add, you know, hemp to it. Just, you know, looking to see what the serving size is and balancing that out. If it's, you know, gonna add some of the beneficial fat to it, you know, just so maybe not adding another fat since you already have one.
And then MCT is processed basically out of coconut oil, but it's processed, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm not very familiar with that one. I would have to look that one up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
want to give
That's
false,
it what
but
we
that's a good question.
So we don't have any more questions about this slide.
Okay. And the one with the stevia, so stevia is you know, a sugar substitute, so it doesn't, you know, add to like your overall sugar. The thing we say with that is still you know, it's all about our taste buds, so you can add it. It's not going to affect your overall, you know, sugar amount, but still, you know, not adding it to everything, because we want to make sure that we're not, you know, getting used to like everything having to have, you know, that sweetened taste, right? Because your taste buds will get used to, you know, things always having to be sweet. But the benefit of it is that it doesn't add to your overall sugar content. So, you know, the smoothie overload, you know, trying to add everything into that blender or juicer. The thing we want to make sure that we're doing is, you know, to treat our smoothie or our juice like a balanced plate, okay? So trying to see, you know, are we including the different food groups in it? You know, do we have, you know, 1 to 2 servings of that fruit? Vegetables, are including some vegetables that have some of that great fiber as well. And then that protein, are we including that protein? You don't always have to have dairy, okay? Some might, you know, choose to do water, or, you know, maybe use an herbal tea or something like that. And then grains, but you can also get, you know, grains or carbohydrates from your fruits or some of your vegetables, like if you're going to do sweet potato, okay? And you can also get some of your protein, like somebody mentioned earlier, from your dairy. If you're doing like Greek yogurt or soy yogurt, now they have, you know, yogurts from all sources. So they have them, you know, soy, oat yogurt, almond milk yogurt. So you can get it from any of those as well. You can also use coconut water, definitely. That's very flavorful, okay, and that's a great option. It has great sources of potassium as well. So that's a really good option. So if you want to make it creamy, you know, adding maybe bananas, zucchini, cauliflower, avocado, and even adding white beans, okay, or soaked oats, that, you know, can make it creamier if you're looking for some of a creamier consistency. And then if you're looking for something more frosty, adding more ice after blending it, or as somebody mentioned, you know, you can either have like some of those herbs and ice cubes, or using some of those frozen fruits or frozen vegetables will make it definitely more frosty.
Can you use raw
Yes.
zucchini? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You don't have to cook zucchini?
You don't have to cook it, no. Just like you wouldn't have to cook celery. Okay, but it, you know, it's gonna have a little bit of the pieces, the small pieces in it. Okay, so now we're, kind of just going to go through some different recipes for inspiration. And so this is a green juice, and that pro tip here to remember is to have like 1 cup of that fruit per serving. So this one actually serves 4 cups, and what there has is green apple, some pears, celery, cucumber, kale. Okay, so we have our fruits. We're going to be those apples and pears, and then the vegetables here is going to be celery, cucumber, and kale, as well as spinach. And then adding the flavors of those lemons. Okay, and this is actually a recipe that is in our Giants Savory website. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's www.giantfood.com/savory. And I could share that in the chat. But there's a lot of different recipes that we'll be going over and sharing for inspiration. Okay. And then if anybody, has kids or grandkids, these are a great option, mixed berry spinach. So having things that will mask those vegetables. Okay, so here we're using some frozen berries. And then you can use, milk, either, low-fat milk or plant-based, banana, spinach. You can have, this is going to add some sweetness to it, would be that maple syrup, but you could also instead do honey, agave, okay, or the stevia. And then some vanilla extract. That's a great, to add there. And I see a question of how much is a bunch of kale? That's a really good question. Is that what it says here? Packs a bunch of kale. So is that in a recipe that you saw, Joe?
That's on the previous slide.
Oh, the previous one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the previous slide. Yes, it says 1 bunch kale. I made a photo of that. It says 1 bunch kale. Yes.
That's a good. Okay. Yeah,
and
that's a
spinach
very.
is in cups.
So, if it's chopped, it's 3 cups. Yeah. 3 cups. That's yeah. Thanks for asking about that. That's a good clarification there. I'm going to change that. Okay. So yeah, so this here is something that, would be kid friendly. And this one's going to be high in protein. So this one is going to, unsweetened almond milk. And that plain yogurt is going to have some protein as well. And then let's see, you can have protein powder. Instead of protein powder, you can put, instead of protein powder, you can also add peanut butter, or you can put, some nuts, like just regular nuts, whether that's walnuts, peanuts, cashews, almonds, and then the ground flaxseed. So the flaxseed is also going to add some more protein here. Okay. And then you can add honey if you feel like you need to have some sweetness. I would personally probably add cinnamon to this, or nutmeg to it.
Oh, we have a question. How long can you store it in a fridge without it losing its great fresh nutrients and enzymes?
Yeah, so these are something, you want to try to have as soon as you make them, trying to have it within, 1 to 2 hours. the longer that it is, it does lose, you know, that freshness from it, and some of its properties. So definitely, you know, something you want to try to have.
So you cannot make it for a week and then drink it one.
No, and it's definitely not going to taste the same. Yeah, it will definitely not taste the same. So yeah, I mean, I have to say, you know, I've done it, and sometimes it's too much, so I'll leave it in there. I might maybe have it for, you know, if I made it for breakfast, I might have it later for a snack or even for lunch. But the longer it's in there, you know, it's losing its freshness, and all that goodness of it. So it's not something, yeah, that you can really prepare in advance. It's something quick and easy on the go. And then also, if you've never tried, you know, there's like the smoothie bowls. This is something you know, trying to that become really popular. So it had, you know, wanting to make it with a thicker consistency, so much less liquid. As you can see here, it's about 2 tablespoons of liquid per half a cup. And then on top, you could add some toppings to it. So this could be, you know, fun for kids or just creative. So this is one of the blueberry smoothie bowl, and that's also a recipe that you can find on Savory. And has anybody tried nice cream or heard of it or made it?
So he said, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but ripe banana get frozen to use for ice cream.
Yeah. So yeah, just you know, freezing those ripe bananas. You want to, you know, have them peeled and sliced, and then putting those bananas slices in a resealable plastic bag and freezing them. So you want to freeze them, you know, at least for 5 hours or overnight. So make sure that they're really well frozen. And then once they're frozen, you can blend them and stick. You know, this one here is with strawberries, so they use strawberries, but you can use any fruit, excuse me, any fruit that, you know, you would like with it. And then it's really comes out with this really nice consistency, and it's very refreshing. It's great during the summertime. It's a good alternative and something that you can, you know, have and try at home to ice cream or, you know, some like a frozen treat. So yeah, you know, I see somebody has tried it, Rashida, and she's, you know, that it's really good. So I definitely encourage you all to try making this, or giving it a try, especially if you have kids, or you like you have a sweet tooth. So I see Joe makes it with banana and cacao, and he might add vanilla. So yeah, those are really, really great options. And that's something, you know, I do have a sweet tooth. So with the cacao, is something that I like to have around to kind of sprinkle on something sometimes to kind of add a little bit of that dark chocolate flavor to it. Okay. All right, so the bottom line is that it's like an endless world out there of all the things that you can try and do, the mixes and the mix and match that you can make. This one here, that's, you know, with chia. So they had the chia in the bottom and they added some of that, you know, like a frozen smoothie on the top. So there's so many different things you can do, just, you know, trying to find a good balance. And then lastly, I just want to share our resources. this is our website, giantfood.com/nutrition. This is where you can find a variety of all of our classes and the nutritionist. We also have a Facebook group. It's called Healthy Living by Giant. So if you're looking for more inspiration and ideas or have questions, this is a great group and resources that, you know, the community shares ideas back and forth. And our podcast, which is Nutrition Made Easy. This is a podcast that if you enjoy listening to podcasts, I would highly encourage you to check it out. And if you have any questions, I am here for a couple of more minutes to answer those questions. And thank you so much for all of your participation, for sharing all of your ideas and questions and thoughts. I think, you know, we all learn from each other. So this was really wonderful. I appreciate your participation.
Yes, thank you very much. Let's see.
Yes, I can share the slide deck as a PDF file. Yeah, I could definitely share that with Zinka. And if is that possible, Zinka, to
Yes,
share
so
it out?
share it with me. I will add it to the class description on our webpage, and I will share the link with the email that will go out to everybody. So thank you very much. So when you share them, I will send a link to everybody. We will also send you a link so you can register for some of our other classes if you'd like to. And we would like to hear from you. So there is a survey that will be also a link to it if you have time and if you'd like it. And let me see. And let me stop. Okay. So a moment. And let me share some resources with you. Some classes to share with you, and I will stop sharing this. I will stop recording. Okay.